Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Sajavachai Namo Namaha. Even though I'm not supposed to give class today, I'm giving class because Leela Shakti can. We'd like to welcome Pancharatna and his good wife here to Goloka. So, okay. Today we have Chaitanya Charitamrita reading in class, so Saturday. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhaguti Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhaguti Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Manachari Yamuna Tera Manachari Jayaranu Madhuva Kunya Bihagati Jayaranu Madhuva Kunya Bihagati Gopi Dana Madhava Girivardhaguti Gopi Dana Madhava Girivardhaguti Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachanti Yamuna Tera Vanachanti Jayuranu Madhava Kunja Bihakti Jayuranu Madhava Kunja Bihakti Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya Also Tera Satishi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kijai Vrindavanam Kijai Maturidam Kijai Jagannath Swami Kijai Munamai Kijai Shrimati Kalaside Kijai Sabhavita Bhakta Vrinda Kijai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale. What? Shimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeya Shatarni. So we're reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Sri Chaitanya. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. So I believe we're on 1241. Is that right, Christopher? Oh, all right. Yeah, because 15 what? 264. Okay. 264. Okay. Anyway, the book was wrong. Okay. All right. Oh, that's a very interesting story. Okay. Let's start with 263. Hunase nindakera mukana dekiba parityaga kailuntara namana laiba. Instead, I shall never see the face of that blasphemer. I reject him and give up my relationship with him. I shall never even speak his name. Of course, the person who's being referred to here is Amoga, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's son-in-law. And just to bring everybody up to speed in this particular story, Amoga has criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for eating too much when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was feeding him a lot of prasad. And he was eating as much as 10 men, that is true. But to criticize Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for that is unacceptable. And so, I mean, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can eat the whole universe if he likes. So, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was doing the right thing. Someone who blasphemes, you have several recourses. One recourse is, of course, we don't do this, cutting the person's tongue. We don't do that. Not so productive. Or leave the situation, reject him, or defeat him. But in this particular case, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya decided to separate himself from Amoga. So this next verse is quite interesting. Satare kahatare charuka se oila patita, patita haela bharata, chajite uchita. Inform my daughter, Shakti, to abandon her relationship with her husband because he has fallen down. When the husband falls down, it is the wife's duty to relinquish the relationship. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya considered that if Amoga were killed, the killer would suffer sinful reactions for killing the body of a Brahmana. For the same reason, it would have been undesirable for the Bhattacharya to commit suicide, because he also was a Brahmana. Since neither course could be accepted, the Bhattacharya decided to give up his relationship with Amoga and never see his face. As far as killing the body of a Brahmana is concerned, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.53 gives the following injunction concerning a Brahma Bandhu, a person born of a Brahmin family, but devoid of Brahminical qualities. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Brahma Bandhur Nahantavya Atathai Vadarhana. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna said, a Brahma Bandhu is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. Quoting from the Smriti, Srila Sridhara Swami comments on this quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Atathayanam atyantam api vedanta paragam jigam santam jigam shihana tena brahma habhavet. An aggressor intent on killing may be a very learned scholar of Vedanta, yet he should be killed because of his envy in killing others. In such a case, it is not sinful to kill a Brahmin. It is also stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.57, Vapanam Dravanadanam Stanam Niryapanam Tata Eshahi Brahma Bandhunam Vodonanyosti Daihika. Cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishments for a Brahma Bandhu. There's no injunction for killing the body. Long purport. As far as Shati, the daughter of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, was concerned, she was advised to give up her relationship with her husband. Concerning this, Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.18 states, Napati cha sashana mochiyad sa samupeta mrityum. One cannot be a husband if he cannot liberate his dependents from inevitable death. If a person is not in Krishna consciousness and is bereft of spiritual power, he cannot protect his wife from the path of repeated birth and death. Consequently, such a person cannot be accepted as a husband. A wife should dedicate her life and everything to Krishna for further advancement in Krishna consciousness. If her husband abandons Krishna consciousness and she gives up her connection with him, she follows in the footsteps of the Tvija Patnis, the wives of the Brahmanas who were engaged in performing sacrifices. The wife is not to be condemned for cutting off such a relationship. In this regard, Sri Krishna assures the Tvija Patnis in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.23.31-32, Patiyo nabhyasu yaran pitri ratri sutadaya lokas chavo mayopeta Deva apyanumanvate na pritye nuragaya yanga sango nrinamiha tonmano mai unjana achiran mam avapshata. My dear Tvija Patnis, rest assured that your husbands will not neglect you on your return, nor will your brothers, sons, or fathers refuse to accept you. Because you are my pure devotees, not only your relatives, but also people in general, as well as the demigods, will be satisfied with you. Transcendental love for me does not depend upon bodily connection, but anyone whose mind is always absorbed in me will surely very soon come to me for my eternal association. And there's several things here that I definitely need to comment on. One, of course, the quotes from the Bhagavatam, the first canto, are in relationship to Ashvatam. Ashvatam has just killed the sleeping sons of the Pandus, and Arjuna captures him, and Krishna first says to Arjuna, kill him, and then he's brought back before the Pandus, and Draupadi, being very soft-hearted, said, his mother is still alive, creepy. She has not, creepy is the name of the mother, so she has not performed the sati rite because she still has a son, so it's appropriate, basically, to leave the son alive. So please do not kill, plus he's a Brahmin, he's our spiritual master. These are all quotes from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Yudhishthira agrees with her. Krishna is still pushing to kill. Bhimsena is pushing to kill. So Arjuna has this sort of conflict there. What am I going to do? Half the family says kill, half the family says don't kill. And so he, as a result, cuts the jewel from the head and deprives him of his hair and deprives him of everything. Of course, later on, Ashwatam does take out revenge against the Pandus by firing the Brahmastra another time. It's interesting. The Mahabharata story is quite different than the Srimad Bhagavatam story. The Srimad Bhagavatam story is the first time Ashwatam fires the Brahmastra. Arjuna withdraws it with his own Brahmastra. But the second time, somehow or other, Arjuna is not able to withdraw it and is focused on the womb of Uttara. And Krishna manifests his Sudarshan chakra to protect the womb of Uttara. Anyway, so that's the story that's made reference to here about not killing a Brahmin and killing him simultaneously, depriving him of his wealth, depriving him of his jewel, etc., like that, and just banishing him. Ultimately, Ashwatam was banished for something like 5,000 years and made to smell bad. Nobody would go near him for 5,000 years. That's from the Mahabharata. And then later on, he rectifies himself. So that's the first point here. But the point here, even more important, is about a wife rejecting a husband who is not Krishna conscious. How to apply this, especially in the Krishna conscious movement, or even making reference to how Prabhupada's sister dealt with her husband. I mean, her husband was not Krishna conscious, and she tolerated. So, what to do about this whole thing? Because oftentimes you find a husband or wife who's not Krishna conscious. Should we just advise the person to leave? Actually, we don't get into advising people in marital affairs. It's not our business. But in any case, what should they do? And so in this particular case, it was something far worse than being fallen. What is worse than being fallen? Committing offenses against Vaishnavas, committing offenses against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this particular case, it was important for Shati to be separated, and for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's wife to be separated from Amoga to protect their devotion. I mean, sometimes someone can remain with someone who is not following the regulative principles, or someone who is struggling in Krishna consciousness, but it doesn't destroy their devotion if they take shelter of Krishna's holy names and are strict themselves in Krishna consciousness. So one has to have some discrimination in this regard. But if someone is an offender, just hearing offenses, even hearing Shankaracharya's Sarirakya Bhashya, his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, can destroy the devotion, Prabhupada even said, of a Mahabhagavat. That's how heavy offenses are. So in the case of offenses, then that stricture has to be applied very strictly. But in the case of someone's spiritual weakness or inability to follow, but they're still supporting the partner in one way, we don't advise people to leave their husband or wife. And actually, in the case of Prabhupada's sister, it ended very well, that he actually eventually appreciated and got Krishna's mercy. So here, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying, my daughter basically doesn't have a husband anymore. So next text. Patim na patitam jat jet. When a husband has fallen, one's relationship with him must be given up. This is a quotation from the Smriti Shastra. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is the 7th canto, 11th chapter, text 28, Santushta lolupa daksha dharmagya priya satchavak apramata shuchi snik dapatim vapatitam bhajet. A wife who is satisfied, who is not greedy, who is expert and knows religious principles, who speaks what is dear and truthful, and is not bewildered, and who is always clean and affectionate, should be very much devoted to her husband if he is not fallen. Next text. Seratrayamoga Khan Palana Gela Pratakale Tara Visuchika Vyadi Hoila. That night, Amoga, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's son-in-law, fled. In the morning, he immediately fell sick with cholera. So that's the result of offending a Vaishnava. And you find this in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes many times, that someone who offends a devotee gets cholera or some other disease like leprosy, like this Gopal Chapala, Gopal Chakravarti. They get these different diseases, and especially with Gopal Chakravarti, it's described that his bud-like fingers, they, fell off or disintegrated or something like that. So we should be very, very careful about people who commit offenses against Vaishnavas or against the Supreme Personality of God, and we ourselves should guard very carefully against this offensive mentality. And if we commit offenses, the first result is we lose our taste for hearing and chanting, which is actually the worst possible thing to happen. That night, Amoga, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's son-in-law, fled. In the morning, he immediately fell sick with cholera. Amoga marina shuni kahe Bhattacharya sahaya Dvaivakaila Morakarya. When the Bhattacharya heard that Amoga was dying of cholera, he thought, it is the favor of providence that he is doing what I want to do. Let's see. Yeah, actually the reference in the Bhagavatam is there. Okay. Ishwareta aparada paleta takshana eta bali pade dwe shastrera vachana. When one offends the Supreme Personality of Godhead, karma immediately takes effect. After saying this, he recited 2 verses from the revealed scriptures. Mahatahi prayatnena hasvasvarata patipe asmabir yadanusteyam gandharvaistadanustitam. What we have had to arrange with great endeavor by collecting elephants, horses, chariots, and infantry soldiers has already been accomplished by the Gandharvas. Purport. This is a quotation from the Mahabharata, Avana Parva, 241:15. Bhimasena made this statement when all the Pandavas were living in exile in the forest. At that time, there was a fight between the Kauravas and the Gandharvas. The Kaurava soldiers were under the command of Karna, but the commander-in-chief of the Gandharvas was able to arrest all the Kauravas by virtue of superior military strength. At that time, Duryodhana's ministers and commanders requested Maharaj Yudhishthira to help. After being thus petitioned, Bhimasena spoke the verse given above, remembering Duryodhana's former nefarious and atrocious activities against them. Indeed, Bhimasena felt it very fitting that Duryodhana and his company were arrested. This could have been accomplished by the Pandavas only with great endeavor. So, of course, this whole story is that the Kurus, headed up by Duryodhana, were attempting to embarrass the Pandavas. The Pandavas were in exile at that particular time. And they thought, we'll go and have a party by this lake. And they went to show off their opulence. The Pandavas didn't have much opulence at that time, other than their devotion to Krishna, which is the greatest opulence. So we're going to show off our opulence and just embarrass them and shame them. So they went to this lake, and they went to this lake at an inappropriate time, and that was the time for the Gandharvas. And actually, the Gandharvas were headed up by Arjuna's friend, Chicharatha, which is interesting, who Arjuna previously fought with, burnt his chariot, and made friendship with. So basically, the Gandharvas captured the Kauravas. And Bhimsena was in ecstasy, as we read here. After going through all this, we don't have to go through any trouble. And the Kauravas are captured. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, being Ajata Shatru, not having any enemies or considering anyone to be his enemy, he said, no, we have to go save them. And he ordered Arjuna. Arjuna went to Chicharatha, and he got them released. And there's more to the story in the Mahabharata. When he got them released, Duryodhana was so depressed that he had been released by the help of the Pandavas that he decided to kill himself. And the way he decided to kill himself, he went into meditation, some mystic sort of thing, and was going to fast until he left his body. And while he was doing that, the other nice demons took him out of his body and gave him a pep talk and said, don't worry. We're going to help you. We're going to take over Kripacharya, Dronacharya, and grandfather Bhishma, and they will be basically possessed. And Prabhupada mentions that's because they were eating food cooked in Duryodhana's kitchen. And therefore, their minds became contaminated. If you eat food, contaminated food, cooked by people with the wrong consciousness or not offered to Krishna, then you get karmic reaction and your mind gets contaminated by certain modes of nature. So that's the story here. Inside story. Next text. Ayushriyam yasho dharamam lokana shisha evacha hanti shreyamsi sarvani humso mahat atikrama. When a person mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. So, another quote from Srimad Bhagavatam. This statement, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.4.46, was made by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. This quotation concerns the attempted killing of Krishna's sister, Yogamaya, who appeared before Krishna's birth as the daughter of Mother Yashoda. This daughter, Yogamaya, and Krishna were born simultaneously, and Vasudeva replaced Yogamaya with Krishna and took Yogamaya away. When she was brought to Mathura, and Kamsa attempted to kill her, Yogamaya slipped out of his hands. She could not be killed. She then informed Kamsa about the birth of his enemy Krishna, and being thus baffled, Kamsa consulted his associates, who were all demons. When this big conspiracy was taking place, this verse was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. He points out that a demon can lose everything because of his nefarious activities. The word mahad, atikrama, means envy of Lord Vishnu and his devotees, is significant in this verse. The word mahat indicates a great personality, a devotee, or the supreme personality of Godhead himself. Being always engaged in the Lord's service, the devotees themselves are as great as the supreme personality of Godhead. The word mahat is also explained by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, text 13. Mahatmanastu mam bharta daivam prakritim ashruta vajantinanya manaso gyatva bhutadam avyam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the supreme personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Being envious of the Lord and his devotees is not at all auspicious for a demon. By such envy, a demon loses everything considered beneficial. Next text. Gopinathacharya Gela Prabhu Darashane Prabhu Tanre Puchila Bhattacharya Vivarane. At this time, Gopinathacharya went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord asked him about the events taking place in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. Acharya kahe upavasa kaila dvijana vishuchika vyadite amoga chariche jivana. Gopinathacharya informed the Lord that both the husband and the wife were fasting and that their son-in-law Amoga was dying of cholera. Shuni kripa maya prabhu aila dhanha amogera kahitara mukhe hasta diha. As soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that Amoga was going to die, he immediately ran to him in great haste. Placing his hand on Amoga's chest, he spoke as follows. Sahaji nirmalake brahmana hridaya krishnara yogyastana hoya. The heart of a Brahmin is by nature very clean. Therefore, it is a proper place for Krishna to sit. Matsarya chandala kene ihan vasaile paramapavitrastana abhitra koile. Why have you allowed the chandala of jealousy to sit here also? In this way you have contaminated a most purified place, your heart. Sarvabhauma sange tumara kailusha haila kshaya kalmasa guchile jiva Krishna nama loya. However, due to the association of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, all your contamination is now vanquished. When a person's heart is cleansed of all contamination, he is able to chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. That reminds me of a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Yesham tvantakatam papam, etc. Yesham tvantakatam papam jnanam punyakarmanam dedvandva moha nirmukta bhajanti mam drita vritaha. When one comes to the end of sin, the end of contamination, jnanam punyakarmanam, and he becomes pious, then he is a drida vrita, then he is able to perform devotional service with determination. Uthaha mogatumi lao Krishna nama achire tomare kripa karibe bhagavan. Therefore, Amoga, get up and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. If you do so, Krishna will unfailingly bestow mercy upon you. So the absolute truth is realized in three phases: impersonal Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. All of these are one and the same truth, but Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan constitute three different features. Whoever understands Brahman is called a Brahmana. That's the definition of Brahmana, one who knows Brahman. And when a Brahmana engages in the Lord's devotional service, he is called a Vaishnava. Unless one comes to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his realization of impersonal Brahman is imperfect. A Brahmana can chant the Hare Krishna mantra on the platform of Nama Bhash, but not on the platform of pure vibration. When a Brahmana engages in the Lord's service, fully understanding his eternal relationship, his devotional service is called Abhideya. When one attains that stage, he is called a Bhagavata or Vaishnava. This indicates that he is free from contamination of material attachment. Lord Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita 7:28. Actually, it's the same verse I just quoted. Sorry. Yesham, sorry about that. Yesham twantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam. They dvandva moha nirmukta bhajanti mam tridavata. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the duality of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. A Brahmin may be a very learned scholar, but this does not mean that he is free from material contamination. A Brahmana's contamination, however, is in the mode of goodness. In the material world, the three modes are goodness, passion, and ignorance. And of all of these are simply different gradations of contamination, and approaches the platform of devotional service, and approaches. Unless is not here, somehow or other. Is it there in your version? My version, it doesn't have. It said, unless it approaches the platform of unalloyed devotional service, he cannot be accepted as a Vaishnava. An impersonalist may be aware of the impersonal Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth, but his activities are on the impersonal platform. Sometimes he imagines a form of the Lord, saguna upasana. That means he's imagining a form that has qualities. But such an attempt is never successful in helping one attain complete realization. In other words, an impersonalist is meditating on a personal form as a stepping stone to come to a higher platform. And in other words, no. In other words, he feels or thinks that when he comes to the higher platform, then he just rejects the personal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is an offense. But such an attempt is never successful in helping one attain complete realization. The impersonalist may consider himself a Brahman and may be situated in the mode of goodness, but nonetheless he is conditioned by one of the modes of material nature. This means that he is not yet liberated, for liberation cannot be attained unless one is completely free from the modes. In other words, mamchiyo vyabhichareni bhakti yogena sevatai sagunan samati chaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One has to transcend the modes and be established in Brahman. In any case, the Mayavada philosophy keeps one conditioned. If one becomes a Vaishnava through proper initiation, he automatically becomes a Brahmin. Now again, reference to that definition of a Brahmin, one who knows Brahman. That's what a Brahmin is. So one who knows any of the three aspects of Brahman, spirit, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti Shabdyate, is considered a Brahmin. So because a Vaishnava knows Krishna, Yasmin Vigate Sarvam Evam Vigatam Bhavati, he knows everything, and therefore he's considered a Brahman. A Brahmana, sorry. There's no doubt about it. The Garuda Purana confirms this. Long purport. Brahmananam sahasrebhya satrayaji vishishyate satrayaji sahasrebhya sarva vedanta paraga sarva vedanta vitkotya Vishnu bhakto vishishyate. Out of many thousands of brahmanas, one may become qualified to perform a yajna. Out of many thousands of such qualified brahmanas, one may be fully aware of the Vedanta philosophy. Wow. Out of many millions of learned Vedanta scholars, there may be one Vishnu Bhakta, or devotee of Lord Vishnu. It is he who is most exalted. Wow. So what verse in the Bhagavad Gita does that remind you of? Anyone? Manushanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Ati. Out of many, many people, perhaps one is looking for perfection. Of all those who are looking for perfection, perhaps one knows me in truth. Manushanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Mam Veti Tat. So, unless one is a qualified Brahmin, he cannot advance in spiritual science. A real Brahmana is never envious of Vaishnavas. If he is considered to be an imperfect neophyte. Impersonalist Brahmanas are always opposed to Vaishnava principles. They are envious of Vaishnavas because they do not know the goal of life. Nate vidhu swartagatim hi Vishnu. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:531. They do not know swartagatim hi Vishnu. However, when a Brahmana becomes a Vaishnava, there is no duality. If a Brahmana does not become a Vaishnava, he certainly falls down from the Brahmana platform. This is confirmed by Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.3. Na bhajantya vajananti stanad vrasta patanchada. We can actually see that in this age of Kali, many so-called Brahmanas are envious of Vaishnavas. The Kali-contaminated Brahmanas consider deity worship to be imaginative. Arche Vishnu Shiladir Gurushu Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Buddhi. Such a contaminated Brahmana may superficially imagine a form of the Lord, but actually he considers the deity in the temple, I'm going to try to finish this purport, to be made of stone or wood. Similarly, such a contaminated Brahmana considers the Guru to be an ordinary human being, and he objects when a Vaishnava is created by the Krishna consciousness movement. Many so-called Brahmanas attempt to fight us, saying, how can you create a Brahmana out of a European or American? A Brahmana can be born only in a Brahmana family. They do not consider that this is never stated in any revealed scripture. Lord Krishna specifically states in the Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chaturvarna Varnyam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. Thus, a Brahmana is not a result of the caste system. He becomes a Brahmana only by qualification. Similarly, a Vaishnava does not belong to a particular caste. Rather, his designation is determined by the rendering of devotional service. So, quite a lengthy purport. That's in relationship, of course, to a Moga who wasn't actually a Brahmana because he didn't know Brahman. So anyway, we have a lot more to say about that, but it's time to greet the deities. Thank you very much. All glory is to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. What?
Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Kriya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Namah Vishnu Pataya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Sammaniti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pacha Sesha Shunyavati Matsachagate Satarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Siva Sati Going back to Brenda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Goloka Nana Rana Goloka Nana Radhe. Jaya Radha Goloka Nana Rana Goloka Nana Radhe. Jaya Radha Hey Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Om Vishnu Pad.
Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pradidamam Pradidamam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Bakriba Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatat Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Harinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Bhatitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vapata Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galashu Daraya Varanam Gadgaduradaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Graha Neba Vishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyavapadam Pranam Rastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatata Va Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw on the street. One must be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other fall in the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing and constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will my body stand and end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted and not being present before me. He's really free to anything. For he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Shastika Ki Jai. And we like Jai. And we would like to welcome our guest Pancharatna Prabhu and Atita Guna Mataji. Haribo. They're always welcome here at New Goloka Dham, and they have got connections here with family, so they'll be here off and on. We're very grateful for their visit.